Hey everyone, so in my recent curriculum picks video for our family subjects, I mentioned that we were going to be doing some sewing and other like handicrafts this upcoming school year, and I shared that we were going to use this Learn to Sew curriculum that we had bought several years ago. My daughter got it as a gift for Christmas. And when we bought it as a PDF. I have a whole other video on it, which I will link down below, but someone let me know that you can't actually buy it as a PDF anymore. They only sell it as their kind of printed physical books. And it's a bit more expensive. It's about $150, but it does come with more than these 5 units. You can find it on their website, which is learntosewkids.com. However, they have one for teens, and then they have, I think, 2 for kids. One's for boys and one's for girls, which kind of turns me off a little bit because I have a boy and a girl. And we don't really, buy girl stuff and boy stuff typically. But it's a bit pricey. And so someone asked if I thought it was worth it for that $150. And I think if I could buy it for $150 and use it for both my kids, that it comes with more than this one does, that it would be worth it. However, they are pretty strict on their copyright. It's all over this one. I suspect this is why they don't do the PDF anymore. Basically, if you're gonna use this with more than one kid, you have to buy one for each kid, which isn't always practical for homeschooling. So if I had to spend $300 to buy the printed curriculum to do it with both my kids, or even to buy another PDF of this, I don't know that that would be worth it for me. But as I was planning this one into our school year for my daughter, I want to do it with my son as well. I put on a bunch of books on hold from the library because this really starts with machine sewing, and I want to start with hand sewing first. So I put a bunch of books on hold at the library so I could kind of plan our year, and I thought I would share them with you if you were looking at incorporating sewing into your homeschool. So the first book that I found is this one called Sewing for Kids. It's 30 fun projects to hand and machine sew. I got all these from the library. I don't know if I mentioned that. I do like this one. I wish it were, you can see the bindings like breaking. I wish it were spiral bound. But the first half of this book is hand sewing, and then it goes into, beginning, intermediate, advanced, then it goes into machine sewing. So I do like that about this. There's a note for grown-ups in the beginning, and then some tips for the grown-ups sewing with kids, which I like. There's a note for the kids. And then it gets into part 1, which is hand sewing basics. So I think this would be really easy to do along with your kids. It talks about sewing supplies, so you could build your sewing kit. It talks about different types of fabrics, rules, and then it gets right into techniques: threading a needle, tying a knot, sewing a whip stitch, tying a finishing knot, sewing a running stitch, and then talks about cutting a pattern. All of the patterns that they use on this book, you can go and download them for free and print them out, as many as you need. So it talks about how to pin a pattern, and then it gets into the first project, which is making this little needle house, which is really cute. It tells you what skills they'll need and the tools, and then takes you step by step. The next project. So the first like 4 or 5 projects are pretty simple, and then it gets into intermediate. Again, it gets into some techniques when needed. So like this is one, I don't like really all the projects in this, but I pulled, I think, 3 or 4 that I think we're gonna do to introduce hand sewing. And then we get into advanced hand sewing. kind of cool. A little pizza pencil case. Has it working with a zipper, so it definitely gets more difficult. That's cute as you go on, and then it gets into the machine sewing. Talks about supplies, learning your machine, rules, winding a bobbin, threading the machine, stitch types, sewing a straight stitch. One thing I was thinking in this one, there's different like printed pages that you actually sew on, but I'm wondering if you could print out, you know, the there's a lot of free ones online that you used for like beginning pencil skills with little kids, like where it'll be zigzag lines across the page. I'm thinking that would be good. You could print some of those out and they could practice following different lines with their sewing. Anyway, then it gets into your first machine sewn projects. Here's another technique, how to sew a hem. So I think this book has a lot of great stuff in it. Like I said, I don't love like all the projects, but I don't think you have to do all the projects. So I think this could be a real contender to use at home. And then the other one, I have a lot here, but the other one that I've always wondered about is this one called Sewing School. And I really like this as well. There's a whole bunch in this series. There's Sewing School 2, Sewing School Quilts, and Sewing School Fashion Design. Sewing School 1 is almost all hand sewing. I do like that it's spiral bound and it comes with patterns. These are from the library too, although I think this one's missing some, but anyway. And again, it has an introduction for the adults. Welcome to Sewing School. And then each section is a lesson. So lesson 1, how to use this book. Here's the rules. Lesson 2 is building your sewing kit. Lesson 3 is finding out about fabric. So I think this one is really, would translate really well to homeschool. Lesson 5 is about thread. Lesson 6, you're learning to stitch. Lesson 8 is buttons. So anyway, I thought that was kind of a cool one too. And we will likely pull a couple projects from this one as well. And then Sewing School 2 gets into machine sewing, lessons in machine sewing. I will say I frequently see, I think it's this one goes on sale on Amazon pretty frequently. And oftentimes it's included when they do their, you know, when they do their like buy 2 get the 3rd free sale. I see it there a lot. All right, so again, welcome to Sewing School. Lesson 1's how to use this book. Lesson 2, how to choose a sewing machine. Goes over the anatomy of a sewing machine. Sewing kit. Rules, finding out about fabric. Ready, set, thread, how to thread your bobbin and your machine, and the different stitches on your machine. And then it gets into the projects, but it just, every, I don't know, let's see how many, let's say how many lessons are in here. 20 projects, but how many lessons? So there's some skill builders in the back, that's kind of cool. How to use a seam ripper. It does have some hand sewing skills in this particular machine sewing book. So it has 20 projects. How many lessons before you get to the projects? Looks like 13 lessons, and then you get into the projects. So I like that one too. They also have this one, which is quilts, 15 projects kids will love to make. Stitch up a patchwork pet, a scrappy journal, a t-shirt quilt, and more. Again, it's laid out the same way. And then it gets into the projects. And then I thought the fashion design one was cool as well. Make your own wardrobe with mix and match projects. So this is obviously much more advanced, but would be something cool to add in down the road or for older kids. A lot of that same information in the front, but here we also go into measuring, pattern play, tracing a pattern, changing pattern lengths, careful cutting, hemming, and then again, lots of fun projects. So I love all of those. And I love that my library has them. And then the last one that I got, I actually already went ahead and found a used copy on eBay because I just love this book so much. This is Stitch and String Lab, 40 plus creative projects to sew, embroider, weave, wrap, and tie. And this is more than just, it's not really like traditional sewing. It's a lot of more creating almost art, I guess, like fiber art in a way. So we have embroidery and projects to go along with embroidery. I think those look really cool. And then we have hand sewing. And let's see. So I guess that there is a fairly decent section on hand sewing. Then we go into fiber arts. I think these look really cool too. And pom-poms. String art, that's the one I just showed you, I think. Spool knitting, finger knitting, felted, fiber, needle felted, I think these look so cool. We have a woven mat, so it gets into weaving. So neat. So this is one I definitely want to have on hand. I feel like once you have some skills, this would be a fun one for the kids to pick projects from. So this one we actually are purchasing. I'm going to return this one to the library. This one we're just going to do some projects out of this one. I already printed the patterns from this one, and then, but I think any of these you could really take and adapt. What these don't offer though is like worksheets and things like that. So this is good definitely for that if you want like a workbook for your kids to work through. Then this might be a better option for that. Let me see. But if this isn't in your budget, there are definitely other things out there that you can make work. So I just wanted to share that and kind of how we're going to be, we're going to use this because we have it, but then we're also going to use things from some of these other books as well. And we, oh, I forgot to pull it and I can't get to it now, but we do have a STEM reader, which I shared in my original video on this. I'll link it down below to kind of go along if you want to have a story. And then I think we're going to work in, let me see where I wrote it in. Are you familiar with the picture book by Tabak Sims? It's called Something from Nothing, I think. I mean, there's been other, there have been other versions of it, but that's the one I like. So the week we do, let's see, feel like I wrote that in somewhere. Somewhere we're going to use that story to kind of introduce our sewing lesson for that week. So I think that would be a fun add-in as well. So that is kind of what we have going on for sewing. And like I said, I think that this is a really nice program, but it is expensive. So if that's not in your budget, I would encourage you to check out some of these other things to see if they might be a good fit for you as well. Like I think these two would be good. And I really like that one as well. So let me know if you have any questions down below. I will try to link all of these books down below as well.